მოგესალმებით, ეს არის გადაცემა მედიცინა შენს ენაზე და დღეს ძალიან მნიშვნელოვან თემას შევეხებით. ეს არის ციფრული მედიცინა. თემა საკმაოდ აქტუალურია, იქიდან გამომდინარე, რომ ციფრული მედიცინა აღარ არის მომავლის პერსპექტივა, ის ეტაპობრივად ინერგება სხვადასხვა ქვეყნებშიც და მათ შორის საქართველოშიც. უკანასკნელი მონაცემებით საქართველოს 100 სოფელს უკვე აქვს იმის შესაძლებლობა, რომ მოსახლეობას მიაწოდოს ციფრული სერვისები ჯანდაცვასთან დაკავშირებით. სწორედ ამ მნიშვნელოვან თემაზე სასაუბროთ ჩვენი გადაცემის სტუმარია აუდგბურგის საუნივერსიტეტო კლინიკის ციფრული მედიცინის ინსტიტუტის დირექტორი პროფესორი ლუდვიგ კრისტიან ჰინსკე. Welcome, Professor. We are really honored to have you here today. This is the podcast Medicine in Your Language. So let's start simple. How do you define... Hello. How do you define digital medicine and how it is different from traditional healthcare?
Okay, so there's actually an ongoing discussion on how to define digital medicine, not so much in comparison to traditional healthcare, but more in how is it to be distinguished from medical informatics. I think there's a large overlap between medical informatics, that means using technologies from information science in a digital setting to improve healthcare, and that some of the things that are very unique to digital medicine is that, to me, is that digital medicine focuses on applying these methods on the patient. That's the part that's, for me, profoundly the digital medicine part. It's not so much the research about data management and so on. It's really about digital medicine is about using digital tools to improve patient care. You know, questions like, what is the side effect of a digital intervention, for example?
Okay, thank you. What role do you think telemedicine plays in increasing access to care, like especially for rural people and underserved areas?
Yes, I think telemedicine is one of the most important topics in digital medicine because of what you just mentioned. You know, if you have underdeveloped areas where people have poor or no access to medical care, digital medicine can actually make a huge difference compared to traditional medicine where patients actually have to be physically in one location. But it's not only about areas, it's also about patients. You know, digital medicine, not every patient can move around freely. Some patients have disabilities. They can't, for them it's not easy to access and see a doctor, even if they live in Tbilisi, for example. And digital medicine and especially telemedicine offers an option for these patients to make their life better, because for many things you don't have to be with a doctor in person. If you have a cold, if you have a question regarding something, many times in the triage, the clinician can say, okay, you can do this, or I give you this recommendation or this answer. You don't need to come and see the specialist in person.
Yeah. So, like, do we have ethical challenges in terms of using telemedicine or like digital healthcare platforms?
Yes, I think ethical challenges in telemedicine, not so much. I think it's more when it comes to the application of artificial intelligence, which at some point will also dive into the whole telemedicine area. The problem is that the models are only as good as the data, and the data are trained on data sets that we not always have full access. And what happens, or what can happen, is that we have implicit bias in these data sets that the AI learns if we want this or not. So for example, if certain ethical populations receive worse or better treatment, the AI will be trained on this and may translate this into clinicians' workflow and into clinicians' practice, which means it may actually leverage this bias that was there to begin with, and makes it much worse if we scale this up.
Okay, so what happens if there is a glitch in the AI tools or like some misunderstanding? Like who is responsible for that? Like a doctor goes to jail or like what happens?
That is a very good question, and I don't think there's a good answer at this point. At the moment, I'd say that in the end, and I think this is also one of the things that won't change, that the clinician is responsible for delivering the care. And I don't see that machines will do this anytime soon, because you need someone to take responsibility. And there actually has been a lawsuit on the EU, the EU court, where they would try to argue that AI can claim authorship for art. But the EU court said, no, AI cannot claim authorship for art and copyright. And so I don't think this will happen in medicine. So, which means that regarding the recommendations that are given by a clinician, the clinician will be responsible. I think that what we need to do is to learn how clinicians will interact with the systems. I mean, after all, if the system has a major bug, and the system was developed maybe not following regulatory compliance, then there are, of course, already now laws that allow to sue the company for malpractice, for example. But I don't think if a prediction was wrong, for example, then because the AI overlooked something or so forth, then the company or the AI will not be held responsible, but the clinician, because it's their job to put it all together and advise the patient to do this or that.
Okay. Also, what about wearables and mobile applications for like chronic disease monitoring? Are they reliable?
Well, reliability is a word again that is that offers broad range of interpretation. So I think that wearables at this point, you have very different degrees of quality. And you have a lot of marketing with that too. But I think that in the future, wearables are an extremely valuable tool to support healthcare when the patients are not in a hospital or anywhere. They are an amazing tool for prevention, you know. I mean, I know so many people now who have some wearable like a watch that helps them track how much they walk, how much exercise they do. And I see how people start changing their patterns now. So I think this is something that is very good, because prevention is the best type of medicine, right?
Yeah. So by the end of the day, do you think that like this kind of technologies implemented in the healthcare system saves time of doctors, or it increases the burden of like the administrative?
Excellent question. This is an excellent question. I mean, there are studies who have shown that the use of electronic health records actually increases the burnout rates among clinicians. And one of the major reasons is that, as you just said, in many cases it complicates things at first. That's why we have to do digital medicine right, and we have to use digital technologies in the right way and focus on making them help the clinicians rather than disrupt their ways. But I think that, again, this is not so easy to answer, because you may have a process where the clinician has a little bit more work, but then the benefit overall for maybe the nurses or the specialist after the first clinician, they have a lot less work. So, you know, it might lead to an overall loss of work, even though individual groups or specialties may have a little bit more depending on the technology. But in general, I think digital technologies should make life much easier and not be a burden. But sadly, you're right, there are some systems who actually increase the burden. Yes.
Okay, so we've talked before the podcast that we have like 110 villages that can use digital technologies in Georgia already. So what is the situation in Germany? Like how is it developing?
So I'd say in general, I believe that telemedicine as a tool for underdeveloped areas is probably developing much slower for two reasons in Germany. The first is that Germany has an overall very good access rate for healthcare. So we have very few regions where there's basically no access. The second reason is that Germany has very strict data privacy regulations, which is in some situations a little bit challenging. That being said, Germany is working on infrastructures. There's a project called Gematik, for example, that tries to implement digital technologies as a nationwide strategy. And one part is telemedicine. There's electronic health record, universal electronic health record for all patients and clinicians to use. There are ideas for emergency medication and emergency set record for a patient that can easily be readable. They define the standards for the for medical communication, so they offer digital services for like a digital messenger or a secure emailing system, special type of emailing system for clinicians amongst each other and amongst the patients, so that things are secure and reliable.
Nice. So are there any established norms or frameworks that functions in Germany in terms of digital healthcare?
Yes, so the one I just mentioned, the Gematik, is responsible for norms regarding the electronic health record, the national health record, and communication structures in medicine. We have telemedicine guidelines, for example, but these come from the medical societies, and the anesthesiologists, for example, have just released the guideline for telemedicine in intensive care. There are other guidelines from other societies, for example, in neurology and radiology. And then, of course, we have European regulations that also add onto this and that control these structures, like the AI Act, for example.
So how are medical schools and institutions adapting to this digital shift? Like, do they study special subjects for digital health, like workshops, trainings?
Yes. As I said, we have different degrees of training for digital health. The one studying in when you start studying medicine for medical students, universities have implemented seminars and courses on digital technologies. However, what I experience is that the reception among medical students is relatively low, because the students are more interested in real clinical medicine, hands-on with the patient, cardiology, exactly, because it's their first contact. We have other programs, such as a specialty for medical informatics and digital medicine. And this specialty is for doctors. It's a training like intensive care or emergency medicine. And it's an interdisciplinary training program. And this has an extremely high reception. This is always, all classes are completely booked and all training spots are gone within a few days. Because I think once the student enters the clinic, they realize how important this is and they become interested in it. And then the interest grows. And medical students don't perceive it as that important at the point of their studies. But yeah, so we have those two elements. We We have classes and we have a curriculum that specifies what students need to know in terms of medical informatics and digital health. And we have the same for curriculum for clinicians when they want to subspecialize in digital health.
Finally, what is your vision for the next 10 years? Like how can digitality change healthcare worldwide, let's say?
Oh, I hope that medicine becomes more fair through digital health technologies, that we can offer global healthcare services irrespective of socioeconomic status and country that you live in. I hope that it will drive innovation in medicine even much more than it does now, meaning that that because patients can ideally choose at some point which clinician do I want to go to all over the world, that medicine needs to develop faster and can be provided to every patient all over the world. And these would be my main two hopes for the future of digital medicine, that it can make a difference, that we make good use of the technologies and not abuse it and for profit or even increase, as we said before, increase biases that exist or socioeconomic divide.
Thank you, Professor Ludwig.
Yes, it was a great pleasure.
It was really great pleasure to listen the experience from your life, and we will be really our people will be really glad to hear what you just said. მადლობა ყურადღებისათვის. ამით მედიცინა შენს ენაზე გადაცემის პირველი სეზონი დასრულებულია. შევხვდებით სექტემბერში. იქამდე კი მადლობას გადავხდით თბილისის სახელმწიფო სამედიცინო უნივერსიტეტს მხარდაჭერისათვის და ამავე უნივერსიტეტის სტუდენტებთან და კურსდამთავრებლებთან ურთიერთობისა და კარიერული განვითარების სამსახურს. შევხვდებით მომავალში.